Soon after that, more homeless people started coming in. Mostly black patients, mostly immigrants. People with no family, no insurance, no one to ask questions. Dr. Harlan marked them as charity care or volunteers, but the hospital never approved any research. He was testing drugs on them without permission. One night, I heard him talking to an immigrant man who barely understood English. "Free care, no papers needed. This will help you." The man nodded, trusting him. 2 days later, the man was dead. Dr. Harlan wrote the cause of death as natural complications. He never mentioned the drug he gave him. I checked the chart. The medicine wasn't approved. It wasn't even being studied. He had given it just to see what would happen. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. "They're immigrants, Frank. They're helping medical research." They didn't agree to this. "If something goes wrong, no one will miss them." When patients died, he changed the cause of death and laughed about it later in his office. My name is Frank, and I am a nurse. I knew from a young age that I wanted to be a nurse. I went to school, worked hard, and when I graduated, I got a job at the same hospital where I still work today. I have been there for many years. Long shifts, long nights. I learned every hallway, every sound, every face. I wasn't famous. I wasn't rich. But I loved my job. I loved helping people. I loved being there when someone was scared or in pain. I loved the smell of clean sheets and medicine in the morning. I loved the small moments, like when a patient's breathing finally slowed or when a heartbeat became steady again. For a long time, I believed this hospital was a good place. That changed the day a new doctor arrived. His name was Dr. Malcolm Harlan. He came in with awards, recommendations, and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Board certified, research background. A visionary, the hospital newsletter called him. From the first week, I was assigned to work closely with him. And that was when everything started to go wrong. The first red flag wasn't blood or screaming. It was the way Dr. Harlan talked about patients. One day, a sick black boy was brought in. He had a disability and could barely speak. Dr. Harlan looked at him and sighed like the boy was a problem, not a person. Another time, an African immigrant came in shaking with fever, and Dr. Harlan mocked his accent after he left the room. That's when something inside me felt wrong. Then I started noticing the charts. Numbers didn't match. Vital signs were written differently from what I had just seen. Drug doses were changed slightly, not enough to cause alarms, but enough to be dangerous. When I asked Dr. Harlan about it, he smiled like I was being silly. "Frank, medicine isn't math, it's art. People don't lose their kidneys because of art." He laughed. "You worry too much." Soon after that, more homeless people started coming in. Mostly black patients, mostly immigrants. People with no family, no insurance, no one to ask questions. Dr. Harlan marked them as charity care or volunteers, but the hospital never approved any research. He was testing drugs on them without permission. One night, I heard him talking to an immigrant man who barely understood English. "Free care, no papers needed. This will help you." The man nodded, trusting him. 2 days later, the man was dead. Dr. Harlan wrote the cause of death as natural complications. He never mentioned the drug he gave him. I checked the chart. The medicine wasn't approved. It wasn't even being studied. He had given it just to see what would happen. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. "They're immigrants, Frank. They're helping medical research." They didn't agree to this. "If something goes wrong, no one will miss them." When patients died, he changed the cause of death and laughed about it later in his office. That was when I understood. This wasn't a mistake. This was on purpose. I started seeing how Dr. Harlan treated rich patients differently. When wealthy people came in, he moved fast. He smiled. He ordered tests right away. He stayed late for them. But when poor patients came in, he took his time or didn't show up at all. One night, an elderly woman needed surgery. Her condition was serious but treatable. Her family stood in the hallway, begging, "We can do more if you help cover some costs."
"We don't have that kind of money."
Dr. Harlan shrugged and went ahead anyway. I watched him rush the surgery. He skipped steps. He didn't care. The woman didn't survive. Later, I heard him say, They should have paid. Another day, a 10-year-old boy came in struggling to breathe. His mother held his hand and cried for help. "Doctor, he needs treatment now." "I'll get to him." Hours passed. The boy got worse. The mother collapsed in the hallway, crying, pulling money from her purse with shaking hands.
"Please, take it. Just save my son."
Only then did Dr. Harlan stand up. "All right, let's move." That was when I realized how bad it was. And the worst part was the paperwork. Dr. Harlan changed charts like they were stories he could rewrite. Patients he decided were worthless were moved to the bottom of the list. Alarms rang. Machines beeped. Nurses waited for orders that never came. People died quietly. Afterward, he changed the times. He changed the numbers. He signed his name at the bottom of the page like nothing had happened. Like he was a god. And no one stopped him. I tried to report him. The head of the hospital was always busy. "Frank, Dr. Harlan brings in grants. We'll look into it. You're overstepping." I emailed ethics boards, left voicemails, filed anonymous complaints. That same night, I came home and found my door already open. 3 men were waiting. Masks. No hesitation. The first punch shattered my nose. The second cracked my ribs. I remember the taste of blood and the sound of my own teeth hitting the floor. One of them leaned close. "You like asking questions, nurse?" Another pressed a boot into my chest. "Stop trying to report the doctor." They left me bleeding on my kitchen floor. The police called it a robbery. Nothing was stolen. Recovery took months. Broken bones heal, but fear settles deep. When I returned to work, Dr. Harlan patted my shoulder like we were friends. "Terrible what happened to you, Frank. Dangerous world." I said nothing. I did my job. I turned my head. I survived. Then karma did its job. It happened late at night. An undocumented immigrant woman was brought in unconscious. I heard Dr. Harlan say he wanted to test one of his medicines on her. The hospital didn't know about it, and she had never agreed to anything. He prepared the dose himself. He was in a hurry, angry that the night was busy. He didn't double-check anything. As he filled the syringe, his hand slipped. The needle went through his glove. It pierced his skin. He froze. "Frank, get me saline." I saw panic bloom in his eyes as his hand began to shake. His breathing hitched. The drug he'd perfected for others didn't discriminate. Within minutes, his muscles seized. He collapsed, foaming, eyes wide with terror. "Help! Help!" I helped. I followed protocol. Exactly. No shortcuts, no favors. His condition worsened. Hospitals refused to take him. Once word spread how he had been testing unauthorized drugs on patients. Investigations opened. Charts were audited. Bodies were exhumed. I gave my testimony. So did the data. Dr. Malcolm Harlan survived, but not really. The drug left him paralyzed from the neck down. His license was revoked. His research grants vanished. His family disowned him. Friends disappeared. Now he lives in a care home, a public one, the kind with peeling paint and long wait times, the kind he used to call non-essential. It's staffed mostly by Black and Latino caregivers, nurses with accents, orderlies with tired eyes, people who look a lot like the patients he once used as experiments. At first, they didn't know who he was. Then someone recognized the name. Then someone Googled. After that, everything changed. They follow the rules with him. Every rule. No shortcuts, no favors. If he presses the call button too often, it malfunctions. If he soils himself, he waits. If he's hungry, he eats when the tray arrives, not a minute earlier. Sometimes they read his old quotes out loud at the nurses' station. Sometimes they debate, loudly, whether someone like him deserves comfort. Sometimes they smile when they pass his door and speak in Spanish, just to remind him how helpless it feels not to understand. They never hurt him. They just let him feel invisible. I visit occasionally. I stand by his bed and watch his eyes follow me like a trapped animal. I smile back. "Free care, doctor. No insurance needed." His eyes fill with terror. I turn toward the door. I still love my job. And hey, if you enjoyed this story, subscribe, and remember, karma has excellent bedside manners, and it never accepts bribes.